there is nothing left to be seen. It is the mirror of platitude, of banality, of the 0 degree of everyday life. There is a place of a fake sociality, a virtual sociality where the other is desperately out of reach. This very fact illuminating perhaps the fundamental truth that the human being is not, perhaps not the social being. Moreover, in all these scenarios, the televisual public is mobilized as a spectator and judged. It has become itself Big Brother. The power of control and transvisuality has shifted to the silent majorities themselves. We are far beyond the panopticon, the famous panopticon, where there was still a source of power and visibility. It was so to say, a panexopticon. Things were made visible to an external eye, whereas here, these new forms, they are made transparent to themselves, a panendopticon, thus erasing the traces of control and making the operator himself transparent. The power of control is internalized, so to say, and people are no more victims of the image. They transform themselves into images. They only exist as screens or in a superficial dimension. All that is visualized there is in the Operation Big Brother, and so and others, is pure virtual reality, a synthetic image of the banality produced as in a computer, the equivalent of a ready-made, a given transcription of everyday life, which is in itself already recycled by our current patterns. The question is there any sexual voyeurism? Not at all. Almost no sexual scenery, but people don't want that. What they secretly want to see is the spectacle of the banality, which is from now our real pornography, our true obscenity, that of the nullity of insignificance and platitude. That would be the extreme reverse of the theatre of cruelty, by Artaud. But maybe in that scene lies a certain form of cruelty too, at least of a virtual one. At the time when media and television are more and more unable to give an image of the events of the world, then they discover the everyday life, the existential banality, as the most criminal event, as the most violent inactuality, as the very place of the perfect crime. And that it is, really. And people are fascinated, terrified, and fascinated at the same time by this indifference of the nothing to see, of the nothing to say, by the indifference of their own life as of the 0 degree of living. The banality and the consumption of banality have now become an Olympic discipline of our time, the last form of the experiences of the limits. In fact, this deals with the naive impulsion to be nothing and to comfort oneself in this nothingness, sanctioned by the right to be nothing and to be considered and respected as such. Something like a struggle for nothing and for virtual days, the perfect opposite to the basic anthropological postulate of a struggle for life. At least it seems that we are all about to change our basic humanistic goals. There are 2 ways of disappearing, of being nothing. In the integral reality, everything must logically want to disappear, automatic reaction to the overdose of reality. There are 2 ways, either to be hidden and to insist on the right not to be seen, that's the actual defense of private life, or one shifts to a delirious exhibitionism of his own platitude and insignificance. the ultimate protection against the servitude of being and of being himself. Hence, the absolute obligation to be seen, to make oneself visible at any price. Everyone deals on both levels at the same time. Then we are in a double bind, not to be seen and to be continuously visible. No ethics, no legislation can solve this dilemma, and the whole current polemic about the right to information, all this polemic is useless. Maximal information, maximal visibility are now part of the human rights and of human duties, all the same. And the destiny of the image is trapped between the unconditional right to see and that unconditional as well not to be seen. This means that people are decipherable at every moment, overexposed to the light of information and addicted to their own image. Driven to express themselves at any time, self-expression is the ultimate form of confession, as Foucault said. To become an image, one has to give a visual object of his whole everyday life, of his possibilities, of his feelings and desires. He has to keep no secrets and to interact permanently. Just here is the deepest violence, a violence down to the deepest core, to the heart core of the individual, and at the same time to the language, because it's also the language loses its symbolic originality, being nothing more than the operator of visibility. It loses its ironic dimension, its conceptual distance, its autonomous dimension, where language is more important than what it signifies. The image, too, is more important than what it speaks of. That we forget, usually, again and again, and that is a source of the violence done to the image. Today, everything takes the look of the image. Then all pretend that the real has disappeared under the pressure and the profusion of images. What is totally neglected and forgotten is that the image also disappears under the blow and the impact of reality. The image is usually spoiled of its own existence as image, devoted to a shameful complicity with the real. The violence exercised by the image is largely balanced by the violence done to the image. Its exploitation as a pure vector of documentation, of testimony, of message, including the message of misery and violence. Its allegiance to moral, to pedagogy, to politics, to publicity. Then the magic of the image, both as fatal and as vital illusion, is fading away. The Byzantine iconoclasts wanted to destroy images in order to abolish meaning and the representation of God. Today we are still iconoclasts, but in an opposite way. We kill the images by an overdose of meaning. Baudrillard's fable on the people of the mirror is an illustration. He gives the hypothesis that behind each figure of resemblance and representation, there is a vanquished enemy, a defeated singularity, a dead object. And the iconoclasts clearly understood how icons were the best way of letting God disappear. But perhaps God himself had chosen to disappear behind the images, and nobody knows. Anyway, today is no more the matter of God. We disappear behind our images. No chance anymore that our images are stolen from us, that we must give up our secrets, because we no longer have any